Welcome to Audio Products Podcast. We are meeting with pro audio industry veterans, founders, product managers, UX designers, to learn how they build and manage the products we all love. You will get tips how to navigate your career in audio and how to develop a successful audio product, from musical instruments through audio plugins and gaming middleware up to music distribution platforms or consumer electronics like headphones, mics, and even automotive speaker systems. Enjoy. Hey, Zach. Good to see you.
Hey, how's it going? Good to see you as well.
Yeah, how is it going?
It's good. It's very hot here today in New York. I'm staying indoors and just keeping it cool. It's been a lot of crazy weeks lately.
Gotcha. No, so it's actually pretty rainy today in Poland, actually all week.
Oh boy. Yeah, I know what that's like.
Yeah, and pretty chill. So, but we are expecting like a heavy, super hot next week, like 33 Celsius, so we're just, still
that's not good.
Having a little bit of chill before summer.
Fair enough. You got to do what you got to do.
Gotcha. All right. So, to the listeners, I would like to introduce to you Zach Kornhauser, who is a good colleague and also member of Audio Product Academy team. So, that's like an episode. I would like to, for the first time, I would like to also introduce not just me talking, but I want to introduce all the great people behind the Academy, and maybe Zach, because instead of me talking about you, you can actually tell a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Yeah. I'll try to keep it succinct and to the point. My background has started primarily and mostly throughout my career in the studio, in recording studios. I went to undergrad for studio recording and music performance, where I originally started, mainly a guitar and bass player. In college, I went to school for, again, studio engineering, and made my way through working in studios as an intern, eventually assistant engineering. This was all either when I was in school in Chicago for undergrad, and then Houston, where I'm originally from. And then I moved to New York at this point. We're getting close to 10 years at this point, where I made the choice to go and get my master's degree in music business from New York University, NYU. And from there, that was like the really big jump into the career, where I simultaneously in school, I was interning at Atlantic Records in their in-house recording studio at their corporate office in New York. That eventually turned into a full-time gig there, where for many years I was their in-house mastering engineer. We had a really great group of engineers and friends that were part of this ecosystem. It was a small team, but we all kind of owned our own lane. And I got to work with a ton of awesome artists, people. I got to be really exposed to the more recorded music business. It has a lot of intricacies that I really liked. Not to mention, of course, just being around different people from all different, sides of the world and different backgrounds, musically and culturally. And so I've continued to do that and work with awesome people, and I still am mastering today. I am working with great artists and people. I love that. But at the same time, especially towards maybe like the middle to end of my time when I was at Atlantic, I started to get more involved with working with different audio organizations that were making the tools that I would be using on a daily basis. There was something about being a very, of course, working in a technical role, at least in a creative role, but more on the technical end, especially mastering it. It can get quite technical, being that it's in a post-production stage. It doesn't always have to be like that, but sometimes it can. I kind of like the idea of being like, all right, well, how do all the pieces of a puzzle fit into an equation? Being that the equation in that case a record. I love the idea of finding out these great products that were always coming out. I'm a gearhead. Whether it's outboard compressors that are crazy expensive, plugins that are coming out, or hybrid things like I'm a guitar player, so I'm very familiar with companies like Neural DSP. I have a Quad Cortex, which is their floorboard multi-effects unit,
Sure.
and they are able to use their plug-in software to integrate into their hardware. So the point is, there's so many different avenues of which, like, I love how tools like that can be used in a creative process, and getting to talk with these people and understand what their needs are as a company and what they're trying to gain from customers and things like that. There was an element to that I really liked. So in tandem, I've been working my way to trying to find both work and actual output of working in a space that allows me to use my knowledge of that technical background, but also maybe more of a business structure, for lack of better words.
Gotcha. But so why mastering actually? I mean,
Yeah. So it didn't always start out like mastering. I really originally wanted to become, well, first I wanted to just become a touring musician and just like play on the big stages. I remember when I started college, my parents they've been very supportive of my career, but they've always tried to be like, all right, well, try to understand it from a business perspective, try to see how it can be sustainable and yada yada yada. And I remember all I wanted to do was go on the big stage, and they were like, no, you need to like look at this. But I was interested regardless. So that started in the studio. I learned about how to work in the studio, recording, all the consoles, Pro Tools, you name it. Fast forward to when I was in grad school, I had a really great teacher and a mentor who's my mentor to this day, Alan Silverman. He taught a course at NYU called, it was just audio mastering that he taught. And the way that he explained the process to us in that class, it really resonated with me, especially while I was still interning at the studio before I was working full time. It really spoke to me, and there was a lot of questions I didn't know about mastering, and it really, from an ethos perspective, really made sense to me about why I love recorded music, why I love my favorite records. What are the things that I think about when listening to my favorite records? Because it got to the point too where blessing in disguise, maybe, or blessing and a curse in disguise. Anytime I listen to music, it's like I have to try to force myself to not be analytical, because I'm always being like, oh man, the bass sounds too heavy, and oh, I wonder what they could have done to do this and that. But it allowed me to kind of take a step back, I think, on a macro level of why I love music in the first place. Even though, again, it could be quite a technical role, it allowed me to, for so long I was ultra technical. And then I was like, okay, let me take a step back. Why is it that we like these records? And what can I do on a big picture to make it sound even better? And also the transaction that I have with artists and clients. I really like being the person at the very end of the finish line to help give people context, give people an objective perspective. When you listen to a record, and I'm guilty of this, I'm sure we all are, you work on a project for weeks, months, years, you lose a sense of your objective take. I like to be the last person to be that ear for people, to be like, I'm just seeing it as almost as if I was like a doctor, like, here's what I am objectively hearing from this recording. This is what I recommend. This is how I did it, or like processed it to make it, in my opinion, feel better. Do you agree with me? If they do, great. If not, we will work together to make sure we get to that point.
Gotcha. Interesting point. Interesting take. So like also to the listeners, I just wanted to for you to know that Zach on our team is editor-in-chief of our modest, or not so modest, actually, pretty cool newsletter. So every month we don't promote it very much here in the podcast. Probably we should, but every single month we are releasing like a bunch of content for audio product teams, that being newsletter, like articles on our blog, and of course this podcast is always like every upcoming, and the best episodes are there too, and some premium content, courses, blah blah blah. Yeah, so thank you, Zach. We have been working already for quite some time, and I know that this actually content, we're just getting so much new subscribers every week. By the way, the link to this newsletter is in the description of the episode. It's always free, so there is we don't do any spam, right? We don't.
No gatekeeping. Just we're just trying to give people honest takes on whatever we write about or whatever we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I think before we recorded this episode, we had this great conversation about the careers, right, and the job market, and generally like different career paths people can take in audio. And actually, it made me think, because the original idea of the academy also came from my own struggles in the industry, and like not being able to get a job. And the idea of actually giving people resources and some different tools that they can develop their career. So that's, I think, that's why we don't do gatekeeping, right? Because we just simply want people to sort of get the same.
Exactly. That's kind of the way I see it as well, because it's already hard enough with the job market the way it is right now. AI, of course, being the big word of the past couple of years now. We're seeing so much change. It's already hard enough to keep up with how to position ourselves to get better jobs, better career paths, whatever we want. Why feel the need to hold information back when we're all wanting to get the same progress? I'm in the belief of, if one of us wins, we all win. If we're all a part of a team hoping for the best and we put in our best efforts, if one person wins, we're going to all move up along the totem pole, so to speak, with each other.
Yeah, especially that the industry is not that big. Well, I understand there are different segments, like, I don't know, game audio and some, like a hi-fi and stuff. But still, it's just so, it's a niche market, yeah.
It's a niche market, and it's, of course, evolving at a rapid pace like everything else. So I just want to be on the mindset of, let's all come together. Let's be helping each other out, because, again, we all just want essentially more or less the same thing, which is success in our individual and communal, positions.
Yeah. So how do you you mentioned all the AI, but what do you feel? I know that you're also doing some sort of career transition, so to speak, right? Or exploring some
I call it like a pivot even. I am still growing my mastering career, and I really love that. I see that as my creative, not to say the other roles aren't creative, because every role can be creative, but this is what I've been doing for so long, and I love it. But there's also my interest in understanding, for lack of better words, how is it that the companies that I look up to, that make equipment and make products that I use, that give me influence as a creator, how are they making choices? And the choices that they make, how do they justify choices? And what goes into that, that makes those products so great? Again, I'm seeing this as a time for me to be okay, well, let me use the other side of my brain, right? For many, many, many years, it's always been all right, I'm in a studio, I'm in a creative, technical role, for lack of better words. So where can I gain? I just want to learn. I want to learn. I want to use my knowledge base that I do have and find a way that I can translate that ideally to a company or a role or even by myself to, gain more and more. I am a big proponent for learning. I love learning. I'm always learning, and I want to use what I have and grow with it too. And if that
Mm.
means, say, being, again, what we're doing here in the academy, maybe one day, in tandem with mastering, being a product manager or a technical product manager for these companies that I've always looked up to, or
Yep.
building a new company. It's
Mm.
it's just that entrepreneurial, itch that I think we all have.
Mm.
That's why we're in this in the first place. We all are entrepreneurs in our own right. It's just, I want to expand my horizons because I'm just so interested in it.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, I mean, absolutely. And I mean, as you know, I mean, I feel like you are in the way better position. Well, I mean, I already had some product roles and project roles, but I still think that people like yourself are in the best place or best position to, to flourish in the, in the product roles in especially, music production companies, because, who can better understand the, workflows, and very often, there are these actually small specific, workflows that matter, that are pains.
Sure.
And if you just simply like scratch the surface because you don't know, I don't know, Pro Tools well enough, or you don't know what are, it's actually what's like to work on a, big project, you will never actually understand the customer pains. And I remember from, my previous job at Avid, I mean, most of the people, like, they were either former post-production people or former, or not only former, a lot of people,
They
even in
still
smaller
are, yeah,
companies,
doing.
this mixing, mastering after work. And it's funny, right? I mean, the audio in the day, audio during the evening, and playing
Exactly.
music in the at night. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's such a good point. I really, I'm trying to explain this in the best way. I really uh like the idea that in my role as again just a studio engineer, I see it as we're giving our ability in trying to, understand how people want to get what they want. We're the people that are translating their needs into actually making it happen. There's a reason why people go to a studio in the first place, to record their things. Not to say that people don't know how to record themselves, because you can nowadays very
Mm.
easily, but I like translating those things to people. Like if someone's like, here's a great example. If somebody is like coming to me and they're like, "Oh, I want to make my track sound warm," or whatever adjective, I see that as a challenge for me to be like, "All right, how am I going to make sure I achieve what they want in a way that we're interacting on a creative and enjoyable way? By the end of the process, they're happy with the result." For lack of better words, I just want to. I like being that person to really grasp what people want. So I'm even learning right now what, like, that whole concept of like being a translator, if you will. What could that what's a role that like could be like, what type of role is that in a product team or a music tech or audio tech, at least, team? How could I translate those skill sets to where it would scratch that, itch that I have for working at
Mm.
a place like that, or a place like a company,
Yep, yep, yeah, 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 yeah. Definitely, the product managers and designers usually, and they have exactly the same role. They have to translate or even grasp what people can't explain, and actually try to extract it and turn it into something. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because we're the
Give
ones
it a
using the products more, essentially. And so what better way to make sure we're getting the right things when we talk to other people that are using those things too, and understanding really what they want? To me, it seems like such a easy thing to do, because you just go right to the source. As long as somebody who speaks the same language,
Mhm.
talk with them, and you're going to hopefully find the solutions you want from it.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm in that process of figuring out like what could that look like at an organization? What type of role would that be? And is
Mm-hmm.
this something that would speak to me or not? And let me keep learning about how I can best utilize my skill sets.
Gotcha. But I mean, I just figure out I sort of digressed, and the question I had, I mean, we discussed this already, so I know a little bit, but you know, what's in your opinion the state of the market nowadays? I mean, job market, and you know, like
Yeah.
what's your take on this?
I mean, yeah, there's no denying it's hard. I was unemployed for almost about a year.
Mm.
There was time where I was trying to, increase my mastering business, and I continue to do that again. That's an ongoing, ebb and flow process.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it was a matter of time. It was a matter of me trying to figure out again, how can I make sure I'm translating all of my needs into, or not needs, but all my skill sets into different ways that a company would be like, oh, he's not just a studio guy. He actually has deep knowledge or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
finally, I did get a position. I am doing content writing. Essentially, like I like it's kind of like product marketing, outbound marketing for product, so to speak, for B&H Photo in the city. So I get to write about all different types of audio products. Something it could be as small as like adhesive tape for lavalier microphones,
Hmm.
which, I mean, there's not much to write maybe about that. And then the other day I'll get to write about like a $5,000 pair of Odyssey headphones, for
Hmm.
example. And it's great for product exposure. I think that's been a great thing. And it's allowing me to utilize again my background of being a gearhead and being a product
Mm-hmm.
person. So with that, in tandem with already what I've been doing, I think it's nice to be able to at least see this as a start to get into where I ultimately want to be, making products or helping to make products. But yeah, it was hard. It was hard. It's still hard. AI, of course, is having a huge play into that. People are still trying to figure out where the future is going to look like. Where's the market going to stabilize, or when is it going to stabilize?
And what
I
skills to learn what skills to learn as well, right?
Yes, and what skills to learn? Can you learn those skills at the current job you have, or do you need to work around that and kind of put yourself in spots to learn about things? Like for people to know, like you've been helping me learn about how to wrap my head around what an AI agent is, what it can do, what it maybe can't do, and how to actually like build them. Which
Yeah.
to me, it's like, oh my God, this is so much information. It's honestly quite a lot. It's hard for me to like I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, but it's so interesting. And I know that is a great skill set I'm learning that will have a lot of benefit down the line.
I need to give a credit to Tomek, you know, who taught me and actually still teaching me. I mean, like an hour before recording this episode, I had another conversation with Tomek, and you know, like we've been chatting about some, you know, like a new things. And I mean, he's just like I always like think I already like know so much, and there is like a new layers. You know, I'm still
Yeah.
learning that you know I didn't even realize they exist. So, but yeah, I think the problem here is this market evolves so quickly that and all those tools change so rapidly that it's very hard actually to see where it will end. And also, I would say, I mean, it's just my personal sort of feeling. How to say that? Um, I still have challenges and problems about like music AI, and while I
Yeah.
can see like a lot of benefit in terms of helping with administration and becoming a bit more productive,
And
or even building like a
operational.
vibe coding operational stuff. Uh, so music was always a bit sacred for me, and you know I'm still trying to make peace with, like with these new technologies. I understand that, they will not go away, but it sounds like a weird that, like the best music schools now teach music production with AI tools.
and I know a lot of backlash has been happening with Berklee College of Music in Boston about learning about how to use Suno in productions. And, like to your point, like I think it's important that no matter what your stance is, you become educated about the topics. You learn about it so you can make your own choices. I know that as a musician myself, originally, and still a musician, yes, there are some deep concerns. But I don't want to be the person to just automatically say no, or this isn't the thing. I want to at least come up with my own decisions based off of what is presented in the market, and then I decide from there. But you're right. It's worrying.
Sorry.
It's scary. It can be scary.
I would be hypocritical because I do so much, of the agentic stuff, and as you know, with a lot of stuff we do and academia, and with such a small, like a semi-profit sort of organization where we just do more like a community and stuff, it would be probably crazy to do everything manually. So it would be, it would be weird for me to say it's just completely shitty when I use it so much. And also like speaking to Jordan Rudess, who is like a such a renowned musician, and he's still passionate about AI and what it can do.
Yeah. I think he's a great example. I mean, we've talked about this. He's obviously one of my biggest idols musically, period. I mean, Dream Theater was arguably the reason why I got into music in the first place as a career and all that. Like Jordan, if you're listening to this, you're you're incredible, and I admire everything you do, not only as a musician but as a technologist, because people like him are very open to exploring technology, but not necessarily inhibiting upon their inherent skill and ability. If anything, someone like him is learning about new opportunities, how it can either open new doors to their way of thinking, even if they find out that's not for me, or we're not going to go down that path. I admire someone like him who can
openness,
be honest and use discernment. I mean, think about it. Dream Theater and like someone like Jordan, they're like by definition arguably the most music theory and like they're the musicians band, right? Like people that love them are like myself, musicians, and we admire the craft, the hours and the time they spent to making their becoming better musicians and making awesome music, right? And yet he's still doing things that are honestly potentially controversial to many people, but he is making his own choices, and he's still doing what people see as music creation, as like you're putting the time in, you're being honest with yourself, you're being creatively unique. I think if all of us could maybe be like that, maybe we can come up with the best solutions to what the next era of technology is going to present to us.
Fair point. You see, I think I struggle mostly with this like a promise of like a frictionless music creation process, right? Which anybody who actually try to learn any or master any instrument knows there is. The friction is actually, it's just like there is no such thing like frictionless. Life is actually about friction, right? And some people say that, I don't want to go too far, but just trying to say that the difficulties that actually shape us, right? And sometimes, the hours and hard work you put into, shape your character and stuff, So, I'm just trying to say that, what actually makes me feel mad is this promise that now you will not need to do anything. Creativity is blah blah blah. But
exactly. I get why a company like Suno or maybe Udio or whatever, all the other different generative AI companies are like, why they want to like advertise like that, and that's their pain points. Because look, it can be frustrating. It's very frustrating, like as a creator sometimes, to just get like stuck in all that. But to come back to it all, that's just a part of what makes the music connect with people and ourselves, right? That internal struggle, sometimes if we're getting frustrated or all that, like, I just see it as like you'd be taking the guts of emotion out of the outcome. Yes, I could go into Suno and be like, all right, create me like a song talking about, I don't know, I love coffee and I specifically like going to this place or whatever. Like it could be about anything. And it can give me something that objectively might sound cool, but it's that process that makes us connect long term, deeply, of creating the product that keeps us moving, keeps us interested, keeps us going. And I think if you take that completely out, it doesn't make it fun. It doesn't make it enjoyable. That's my take. I've tried using tools like Suno and all that. I think there are times where maybe, as a creator at least, it could be an interesting thing to explore. But I just want to make sure I'm at least coming up with my own conclusions. But as I'm using these more, I'm starting to create my own conclusions, and I still like the process of creating. That goes with not just the music, but again, even products too. I mean, we've seen with like an AI agent or other AI tools that, like, yes, it can create a product for us, but like it still has to come from ourselves, from the time and the
Yeah.
energy and the mentality that we put into it. I don't think
Yeah.
truly that could ever be replaced. I hope I'm right.
But listen, we just like, AI, it always takes over every conversation and it drives me nuts because
Yeah.
Still wanted to, explore, other, so what are the other challenges? Of course, probably, the economic situation and first of all, COVID and inflation, then one war, another war, and tariffs, and so there is so much that impacts
That's
audio.
it.
Not only the entire economy. So I think it's
Yeah,
not
the
like
world.
people don't talk about it a lot. Everybody, you see, AI doesn't only sort of take over the conversation in the creative space, but what drives me nuts is that it takes over. There are like a serious, real problems, not just like a future, some imaginative problems, which is how can you ship products, when you don't know exactly what tariffs you'll pay, etc. And I think
Yeah.
it's also like impacting the job market, right? Because if companies it can predict their revenue, this means that they like freeze recruitment, and the industry like it's little enough.
Yeah, exactly. It's already little. It's already small enough to where it's already a challenge of its own. But then, like you said, with all of these global issues and global changes that are happening rapidly, it makes it even that much more challenging. And even especially for someone like me who, is at the same time making a addition. I like to think of it as like an added pivot into my career, where I want to work at these types of companies, but I recognize that, at least maybe on paper, I don't have necessarily the qualifications to like go straight into being a product manager, or maybe like or higher role or whatever. Even if I think I might be qualified, like I have to recognize, I have to meet certain criteria. But if those companies aren't posting those types of jobs and whatever, then that makes it, of course, more frustrating, being like, well, if they're not there in the first place, what do I do? Or maybe they are there and it's hard to find them. So where do you go from there?
Yeah. Well, I personally think we will need to wait for a new wave of entrepreneurship, because there is a lot of this like big companies that drove the entire market for a long time. Like Native Instruments, and I'm not saying they're going away. They of course found some home.
Yeah.
For better for worse, they're not going away, fortunately.
Yeah,
And
they're a big player in the industry.
yeah, but I'm just trying to say is that I can, how to say, I sense it's more even like a feeling than some objective data driven observation, that I can, there is like, first of all, there is consolidation of the capital, so there are just some big players that accumulate, buy companies, and some are, you know, like a super cool, like Focusrite group that still are, you know, sort of, they do not, how to say, they don't destroy the brand of their, you know, of the companies. Yeah. And there are some worse decisions. I don't want to point fingers, you know, probably, but you know, watches what's going on in the industry. You see what's happening when there are some weird people taking over audio companies and
I mean, that's like any organization. I mean, you might get people who come from a completely different background. They may think that they have certain expertise, but it's always important to make sure you have people that know the language to lead
I
charge.
understand. Yeah, understand the users and the market.
Yes,
exactly.
Understanding the users is huge.
Yeah, but I'm trying to say is that, you know, because of it, you know, the consolidation of the capital and the economic, you know, circumstances and you know, the industry being small in general, I think it's just I sense some kind of, you know, I don't know even how to call it, some kind of, I don't want to say crisis, but some kind of, you know, stagnation. And I believe some changes will need to happen. I know that there are some new cool companies, you know, like a Safari Audio being one of them, like a small, you know, and they are just like a new cool startups, Noiseworks, and, you know, I just wonder what other, you know, like a new, I don't know, the AWs we will see, or I don't know, maybe some super cool hardware, and how different, you know, segments of the market will evolve. Yeah, but I'm just like I'm just interested about, you know, what new wave of, you know, young entrepreneurs will, you know, especially that there will be people who didn't work with tape and they didn't work, you know, in the typical studios. They very often, I don't know, bedroom producers turning into, you know, entrepreneurs, you know. So this can completely change the market, isn't it?
And it probably will. Now, to what extent we're still figuring that out. But I mean, yeah, to the point of we saw similar things when we went from completely analog recording with tape to then, you know, not like to give a little history like lesson, but like then there were DAT machines. Then we got into actual computers like that could record, and you started to see things change. You started to see products change for that, to the point where it obviously changed how music is, at least in the context of music, how it's changing, but even just general audio and audio consumption, right? Even as simple as like seeing from over the many decades at this point, we used to have to, I mean, I remember, of course, and I'm sure you do too, when like the iPod came out, that was of course revolutionary, how like you could store music on such a small device and not have to carry a CD player even, you know. And now we have streaming. What's going to happen after streaming? You know, I mean, we're in the AI era, so it's so much happening. But we've seen technology change over time, and I think I'm optimistic that we're going to be able to, as a whole, be able to find a way to all land on our 2 feet. It's but of course it's like scary when it's this drastic of a industry change, world change, shift, and not knowing where we are going to go. We saw it back in decades ago with technology changes. The internet boom showed that as well back in like the late 90s, 2000s. So we're just in another one of those big explosions, if you will.
Yeah, maybe. I just, you know, when you talk about it, I just want to also make a, you know, like give a shout out, you know, to a couple of there are some cool companies, like, for example, the audio programmer, who also have the like a recruitment sort of branch, and Tessa, who is, you know, helping people to land new jobs, and Interfacio, there is like a British company, or a small boutique recruitment company. We publish, right? I mean, in our newsletter, we always publish the job openings, you know, so we try to, you know, collect them. By the way, I mean, we've been building an agentic workflow that can very effectively find jobs and actually publish them for people. And I mean, I was actually at the moment, you know, as you know, for some time, hoping I can even create like a small portal, but actually to make an effective search, using AI. It's, it really is. I mean, to the point of whether AI is going to take over or not. It was so funny because, you have to get a server, you need to get the, like a subscription, then you need to have some
API integration.
Yeah, integrations, etc. And then when we calculated, I know that even if this like MVP version, when it actually only goes through the career pages of companies that we, collated, it's already like quite nice. But if we want to go further, and I don't know, LinkedIn and Indeed, Glassworks, etc., you need to home so many tools that first of all, I thought maybe we can give it for free to people so they can, whoever actually looks or is like in the challenging situation without job, they can get
Have
access
an
to it. But
yeah,
but I mean, I can't, simply like pay $200 a month just to keep some
it
kind
would
of
be
like a basic.
yeah, it would be a lot, of course. But I mean, these are the types of tools that, like, I'm sure many other people are trying to figure out how to optimize. Just this is, to my understanding, a strictly operational kind of efficiency. Have something that can just gather information, and then it's up to us to then take it from there.
Yeah, but you see, I'm reading again and again that I don't know how does it translate to audio, but in some industry, I think it was just like a generic report that if you are just applying, I don't know, as a 20th or 30th person, there's like a lot of people who are applying for the same job. If you're not one of the first, probably your, resume can simply, like somehow stuck in the, it's like such a huge pile that people go through 20, 30 first, resumes, and then
it'll never get looked at, which is already an issue, because I'm sure there are many people who are really qualified for the thing, but like now you have AI. There's a term for it, I'm blanking on it, but like essentially it'll like scan your resume to check for key points and key terms, and it's like, well, wait, like whatever happened to like people just reading a resume and making sure that it conforms to what they are needing in a company? I mean, that still is being done, I know, but it makes you just be like, that's even more frustrating when like sometimes your resume, which will be perfect for the role, may not even get to a human to review. That's and that's quite frustrating. I've dealt with that myself in applications and things like that, and I'm just like, where are we going to go with this?
Yeah, then that's why people have to write, like read and subscribe to our newsletter, because we publish all this, first of all, like cool articles about how to build agents. And I mean, from the very beginning, to some advanced skills, but also share some agents to help people. For example, I do have my own agentic workflow that customize CV and for every opportunity, so we can actually increase chances of being found. So that's, I think, another cool reason people can subscribe, not only to read articles, but which are cool on its own, but to get those. And we just publish a lot of this for free, right? Because we simply want people to succeed, right? So that's a good one.
Exactly, because we want to succeed, and we want everyone else to succeed. Again, if one of us succeeds, we all succeed, as long as we're a part of a team.
As long as you are not applying for this. No, I'm just like kidding, right? We'll give my engine, but like 10 days later. So
oh God.
Once I get a job. No, of course it's a good job. But also to the point of the industry jobs. Remember, we discussed this earlier. I can see that in the wider tech, so outside audio, there's a lot of these product managers, like professional product managers, who go between industries, and they're just very successful. But actually, what they learn is industry specifics rather than the craftsmanship. And to me, it's always a bit weird, because, and I did non-audio jobs before, but it was always like a super challenging for me to learn to speak the language of my users, and to understand the market.
And to put yourself into the thought process of people, into customers, and to users.
Yeah. So that was always the hardest part. But it actually came to me right now that it may be because I have never been passionate about those products. To learn this, it was like a,
Well, of course,
here it's actually, I want to do it anyway.
Yeah, you should be passionate about what it is that you're creating or what you're working on. I think if you don't have that, is there really much point in doing anything else? I mean, I'm in the belief that you need to be passionate about what you do.
Yeah, but it may be harder to be passionate. I don't know, like ERP systems, or I don't know, like e-commerce. I know people are, so
Sure.
I don't want to sort of like how to say.
Yeah, I know it's not always as simple as just like, oh, you're just gonna land a job or a career path that like is to your liking. I know it's not always that easy, but ultimately you drive yourself in the things that you like, and hopefully you can find something that's gonna do that for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Even in audio, right? You can have more and less suitable jobs, right? Something that it's just completely to your liking, and something which is like I think a friend of mine, to give an example, a friend of mine once said, I don't want to like a hi-fi, the like a consumer audio, because they do so many like a like a nasty tricks, like a golden cables for thousands, etc. Which are a bit, not a bit, I mean, shady marketing, and just to like sell on people who are
Yeah, well, I mean,
not very
exactly,
knowledgeable.
and like whether or not like those types of products actually like are that much better than a competitor's equivalent. I mean, I like to think of it when you're, especially in audio, it's very notorious in my opinion. I mean, even though I love seeing technical specs of how something great is, like the difference of that might be minuscule to most people, but the people that are willing to pay for it, they might be like, hey, I'm okay spending so much more money to gain that like 0.5% better efficiency in whatever it is.
Yeah, that's the question. Yeah. Is it really? I mean, some things are simply like against the like a physics and
Sure.
mathematics. So some things are purely like, I mean, I'm saying this because just like recently I subscribed to a channel where, Polish channel, where the guy is just like he fights, some, he's like a mythbuster, like audio mythbusters.
Yeah, does this like cable really like make it that much better? I've been in situations where I've even done like A/B testing between those things, and it would be like, wait, why are we doing this? Or is it really gonna like make us determine one thing versus another? I don't know. It was interesting.
Yeah. But there are different segments. But Zach, so maybe to those people who never actually went to our blog and they didn't read our newsletter, so what is that you're writing in the newsletter? So what is your like focus, at least so far?
Yeah, I mean, firstly from just like a generalized thing, I'm, at least for me, I'm in charge of creating the newsletter, putting it together, and coming up with like different types of material to discuss, and which goes more into then about the articles. So I write one usually every month, you as well. We have Michael, who also writes a lot of articles. He, for example, if no one knows, Michael, I'm pronouncing it right, Wasserman? No, yes. Yeah, right?
Wasserman,
yeah.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, I'm sometimes bad with pronunciation. So he, for example, he used to work at Waves Audio, which is one of the biggest plugin companies. He has a very great technical background. So we all then come together. We talk about different topics that interest us or that might be pertinent to the industry. Even more recently, I remember I was creating articles about pricing strategy, pricing strategies for audio companies and things to consider when you're trying to justify the cost of a product. There's many different things: product strategy, technical background, technical not like manuals, but like, for example, the AI agent articles that you've written about. That's like kind of an introduction to how to learn about a new topic. Many different types of topics, and we're always interested in learning about different things maybe we haven't talked about, or that might be a great way to expose people to new things. I think that's kind of what we want out of this newsletter, is to show people new avenues of the industry that maybe they haven't known about before, and give them our professional, take about it.
Yeah, well, I was also like the reason I asked was also what's your. It's great that actually you explained the entire newsletter, so that's that's obviously great. So yeah, so you so look answered wider than my original question was. No, no. But it's good. It's good. That's good. I mean, that's a very good that you're just going, to the fundamentals. Yeah. So the cases. Yeah, I would probably say yes. That Michael, with obviously his deep DSP and like a hardware background, he can explain fundamentals like audio fundamentals nicely. And I know that maybe for like a seasoned professionals going through some sampling and like the fundamentals of how audio is actually signal is actually being processed and constructed. Yeah, that's that one thing. I feel like you always focus a lot on the market because you are just so deeply immersed in the products and the market, and such a power user. So your articles are very insightful in terms of like a market analysis.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, market analysis too.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what I'm trying to do is actually give since I'm a either product manager or sometimes project manager, so I'm just trying to give these practical tips, like how to, not that I can't speak about the market, but I think just to complement what you do and what Michael does, just to give people some practical tips, tools. Let's say use this to do road mapping, or I mean my one of my favorite topics, by the way, portfolio management. So I wrote like an entire series of articles about how to structure or how to actually prioritize when you have it's actually not for newcomers, it's more for experienced seasoned professionals or executives or owners of the companies who work already with multiple products.
Sure.
And actually, a lot of people who join, we even make workshops, and there's people from Neural DSP and from other companies, and there's some people sometimes coming for some consultation who wants to actually see if they distribute the resources nicely. So I think it's nice that we have this kind of a complementary skills and I just wonder, one thing that comes to my mind again is, I mean, I got this question. Do you, don't you afraid of AI also taking over this education space? And, why are you writing those if people can simply ask the same question to AI, ask AI, right? And
sure.
What do you think about this?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because I mean, I'll sometimes use an AI to help maybe gather my initial thoughts about something. I don't like to try to use it to be like, okay, give me every detail and let me just read it and hope that I then learn about it. I like to just be like, okay, I'm trying to learn about this. Here's kind of what I know. It helps me at least just give myself an outline about how I can then, in this case, write about something. Be like, okay, here's maybe how I can structure my thought process. Because obviously I could go on and write and just go on, but at least it helps me just be like, all right, let me just make sure I'm sticking to what I know I probably need to write about without getting too, over the top or I lose track. Yeah, it can be concerning though about that. But I think with any learning, my opinion, you still have to learn by the process of doing the action. And if you're telling an AI to just be like, all right, give me every single fact, you're not, in my opinion, as from a learning perspective, you're not really going to lock that information in if you're just asking something to regurgitate that.
So you're saying that differentiate knowledge and skills, right? Practical skills and theoretical knowledge, right? You can actually read something, but still you need to experience this. That's what you're saying.
You need to an extent, yeah. I mean, especially if we're talking about everything in our space of audio and things like that. You still have to put yourself into the equation, I suppose.
So can I interrupt you? I think what I would say is this. that I'm not afraid that much, because I think that people who get great results with AI, they are already knowledgeable and they know what to prompt and how they structure their agentic workflows, but it comes from experience and certain knowledge. And the worst way to use AI is actually just ask them, like a generic prompt, tell me something about something, right? And I think, at least what I would say is that, our materials are supposed to, obviously by any means, we are not like the most knowledgeable people there are. And I'm always humbled because we interview and we meet on our meetups so many people who are just way more, experienced.
Yeah, they have their expertise that we seek out, because they're the ones who are doing the work on a daily basis that can give us way better context and way better knowledge than any AI can. Because at the end of the day, an AI is just, it's only taking what it knows, I suppose.
Or you know what? Not necessarily. They are not always the best. I just learned that very often people who are super knowledgeable, they are not necessarily the best teachers. You can be like the most knowledgeable, like a audio engineer, but the way you convey the information, explain things, etc. But I think, you made a super big, great point. I very often have this imposter syndrome that, who am I actually to, I was to Google for startups like this week on Tuesday, teaching, and there was like a startup owners and, like a lot of people, like, this, some, like a music association, like representatives. And I say, who am I to talk about, what's actually, what's like to build an audio product, like I'm some kind of authority. But I think, and I was actually very clear in this presentation that I'm only saying, I'm interviewing the best and knowledgeable people. We do these meetups, right? And there will be probably one in New York soon as well. So, we are just kind of like a funnel. We bring this knowledge from all these people and somehow take the, extract and just like take the essence, the essence.
Details.
Yes, and actually try me, because we are very knowledgeable in the, that's what I can say boldly, that I'm, I spend in education like 20 years, and my wife is also like who is also involved in the project. She's like a professional educator after she get masters in education. So, we know how to translate this knowledge into, artifacts. And It doesn't necessarily mean that people cannot take AI and take the knowledge further and then actually build on the top of it. But I think
iterate off of it.
Yeah. But I think that's no danger for knowledgeable people. Okay. What I'm trying to say is there is maybe the hype causes people, to try to do shortcuts, right? And go straight, to the results without knowing the,
how to get there. Because how to get there is arguably more important than what the outcome is. Because if you don't know the context for it, the outcome, is it arguably worth anything? Well, because you can just believe whatever you're told.
Yeah, well, yes and no. Let's think about the code. If you're just like writing an application, don't even know the specific programming language, but if it works, it works, right? You have it's worth because it does work, and that is bug free. So it's like it works reliably. So I would say it's okay. My point is rather than if you go, you take the shortcut and you stop. Which actually, there's something about the job market, I think, which is very dangerous in my opinion, is that a lot of companies think that they don't need to teach or like a coach new junior, especially engineers, because you can go straight to, coding with AI. But the problem is that those people who are super powerful with, that writing code with AI, they're just usually senior engineers who simply, that's another extension of their already powerful brains. But if you, and I think the challenge for the company is not that you cannot write the proper code with, with AI. The problem is that you cannot scale it. You cannot, you don't see the, risks related to it, because like a black box, it works, but you don't know why. And so if it breaks, you also don't exactly know why. You can obviously
you can iterate off of that, but you're not from what I'm understanding, what you're saying, it's like you're not, it's limiting whatever the outcome you're making. It's limiting it to go even further than what we traditionally would do without an AI, I suppose. Because
Not just this.
you know,
I think what I'm trying to say is more like a, like a risks and scalability, so like a risk because you can't, you don't know what is inside, so you can evaluate the risk properly, and, and the scalability, so you don't know exactly what can break, because, engineer by looking at the code can say, oh, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. And even if he still uses AI, he can, he knows what, technology to choose to make it scalable. And here, like you say, you can only trust what AI told you. You can, and I think, you can translate it also not also to the coding, but to the general, let's say, career development, which is, sort of topic we discussed today, is that AI sort of make this false, in my opinion, impression that you don't need to coach, like a young employees, and it's obviously make even harder for newcomers, students to, join the industry, because usually, you had a, you could get an internship in the studio, you could get like a internship as a, like a software developer, and you may work your way up. And nowadays this chain is broken, and it will obviously not cause problems right nowadays, because the senior engineers are still there. But what if they, retire, and there is no like a new,
there's not that foundational element may not be there anymore. So what's going to happen when, God forbid, the whole ship starts to sink? They may not know how to fix it.
That's the point. Yes, I think, that's the, I think that I know we have to slowly wrap up, but I would say that, I'm not sure if you agree with me, right? That, our vision is actually to provide this kind of foundational knowledge for people, and also like a ways and to navigate their careers. And so, based on our own experience, and but also to extract the knowledge from all this like amazing people that we meet.
Yeah, that's right. It's time to, offer people what they really want, and just be truthful about it.
Yep. Right. So is there anything else to add, Zach? I'm not sure. Shall we just like a...
I think that kind of covers a lot. Just kind of in the same thing. We're excited to be creating new work, creating new opportunities for people and everyone, and continue to just keep these critical conversations going that allow us to just get better at what we want to ultimately do, which is to be passionate about products that we love and that we want to continue to create.
Yeah, amen. Listen, we never have chance. I'm doing this, like publicly, but I'm always humbled that, such, amazing and experienced people like yourself, get involved in this project. And sometimes, I'm still like amazed, we just, it started with this like 2 interviews I did, and it just blew into this like international movement. I'm still sometimes like scratching my head and say, what's going on? Why it's just like, some amazing professionals joining, and, it's just like created some kind of movement. So, really, appreciate and thank you, Zach, because, we always like keep our conversations about, very practical matters. Let's do this, let's do that, but I'm super happy you are here.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you for being, the person that is able to was able to recognize these things that we're all more or less feeling and wanting. So you obviously created that foundation. So without your, background and your skill sets and everything, don't think we'd be talking about it.
Thank you. But like I said, it was a bit accidental, or like driven by my own challenges and problems. Yeah. So it's just, it's actually interesting, because this is, very often way you can build products. And I heard people build products. They say, I wish I could have this. And then you just wake up, there's so many other people who actually experience the same problem.
Bingo, exactly. That it know what you're talking about. They get where you're coming from, and then from there, it can just start to happen.
Yeah, but again, just I want to close the episode with this, like a call to action. So our newsletter is called very simply Audio Products Newsletter, because it's actually about we may actually rebrand it and call it more like a magazine, because it's about not about audio products, so how to use those products, but it's mostly about if you are a student and you want to build your career, or you are already like a seasoned professional, but you look for some inspiration, or you have some challenges, we are just providing various articles for, on different levels of for different levels of seniority, and newsletter, and the podcast, and the courses, and free content like agentic workflows and artifacts. So you have to definitely go and check it out. We can promise no spam policy, so you're not going to get a lot of emails from us, like a monthly newsletter and just that.
Yeah, exactly. We're just trying to be honest and transparent.
Yes. All right, Zach.
Perfect.
Really, thank you so much, man, and see you probably anyway. We'll speak to you soon.
Exactly. We're already keeping things moving, so we'll be talking further, and everyone, y'all will be hearing from us.
All right.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you liked it. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and of course on our YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to it and hit the bell, because we publish a lot of interesting videos there, not just the episodes. You can also become a supporter and get premium content like additional reading, unpublished videos on our Buy Me a Coffee page, linked in the description of this episode. See you in the next one. Yo.